Since Colombia's 2016 peace deal with Farc rebels, murders of social leaders, from unionists to regular farmers, have been growing exponentially: 97 in 2016, 172 in 2018, and 250 in 2019. Killings that in general have been met with indifference from Colombian authorities. Journalist Emilienne Malfatto investigated the murder of one woman, Maritza, a 61-year-old mother of 6, who was gunned down on her remote farm in northern Colombia. Emilienne's book, telling Maritza's story, was published earlier this year. Its title translates in English to "The Snakes Will Come for You," and we are honored to have her on the program today to talk about it. Emilienne, thank you so much for being here. Can you just start by giving us some context for what's been happening in Colombia since that peace deal was signed that's led to this surge in killings?
Yeah, so basically what happened is that in 2016, so you have a peace deal with the Farc, or most of the Farc, and the Colombian government. And it was presented as like peace, like the end of the violence and the beginning of peace. And it's just not true, because you have so many actors of the conflict. You have, extreme right groups, like paramilitary groups, which are officially like non-existent, but who still exist. You have other guerrillas. You have drug trafficking groups, and you have the army. So you have a plurality of actors who all take part in the violence. And when the Farc withdrew from all those, regions of Colombia, they were holding and controlling, well, the state didn't come in to play its role. And so you have something empty. You have an empty territory, and so other actors come in and start to play a role.
And so you went to Colombia to investigate the violence that was going on. Why did you choose the story of Maritza in particular?
So the plan was from the beginning to focus on only one case, because you can give numbers, and at the end it's just numbers, which are important, but they don't really tell the story. So I wanted to choose one case, and basically I had a look at several cases. It sounds horrible, but it's how I did it. And I said, okay, this case was in an interesting region. She had I don't know, her story seemed appealing. And it was also possible to get in touch with her family. So that was the other argument. It was doable.
And I don't want to spoil the book for potential readers, but can you tell us a little bit more about what you learned about Maritza and her life that led her to become killed? So
I learned that it's really hard to get to a truth, and it made me question, what's a true, what's a lie, why it's so difficult, even, as a journalist, to get one version of what happened, and why it's so important to just cross-check everything 10 times or 15 times. And her story was actually very interesting, even without spoiling the book, because it's very much, Colombia's recent story. You have internal displacement, you have killings by the Farc, you have paramilitaries, you have drug trafficking. So it's like Colombia's story in one little story.
Yeah, because Maritza's husband was also murdered, but about a decade before her. And you write in the book that their deaths seem to represent opposite ends of a single thread. Can you talk more about what you mean by that?
Yeah, because Maritza's husband, Alvaro, was killed by the Farc. In a region that's called the Sierra Nevada. It's right above Santa Marta. So it's close to the Caribbean zone. It's kind of a trending region of Colombia. And so he was killed by the Farc when the conflict between, the Farc and the army and the paramilitaries was really high. And then Maritza was killed in almost the same region 15 years later or so. And by, let's not say who, but yeah, it was interesting to see also almost the same region. You find the thread.
Yeah, and just quickly, a final question. You dedicate the book to Maritza's children, who you got to know while you were writing it. How have they been reacting throughout the entire process?
They were really helpful and really nice. I can't thank them enough, because it's hard enough to have your parents killed, and then you have someone, asking questions about it, and they were really nice. And they trusted me enough to first to agree to see me, to talk to me, to tell me their story. And actually, I've had some books shipped over to Colombia. They haven't arrived yet because the post. But yeah, and I hope it will get translated into Spanish, and so they can read it and get a sense of the result.
I hope so too. Have they been happy though in general that a book was written about their mother?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, not happy per se, but they were they were glad. I don't know. Yeah, not glad, but they thought it was good to talk about it.
Yeah, to draw attention to the story. Yeah. Emilienne Malfatto, thank you so much for joining us. I do encourage all French speakers to read your book. It is beautifully written. Thank you so much for being our perspective guest today.
Thank you.